Afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world today, this evening, and welcome to another edition of CIONET Spotlight, where each week I put a digital leader somewhere in the world in the proverbial spotlight, of course in a lighthearted way. But over the next 30 minutes, I'm delighted today to welcome Tim Vanderham. And Tim is the CTO and SVP of software for NCR, National Cash Register. I looked it up. Company was formed in 1884, 137 years old. Tim's not that old. His background's kind of easy to explain. He's had 3 jobs. Started out 18 years at IBM in technical roles, and that culminated in him launching IBM's cloud. So he was responsible for Bluemix, several hundred software engineers. He was on the vendor side. Then he went over for a couple of years and was CTO of a major business unit of Thomson Reuters, the UK-based media and information conglomerate. I don't know what you call Thomson Reuters these days, TR. And had a US-based role, but was CTO of a major division. And in the last 3 years, he's had this EVP CTO role at NCR. A lot to unpack. So without further ado, Tim, how was that introduction? Did I get the 3 jobs right? Broadly what you did?
Yeah, you got it right, Mark. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to the conversation this afternoon.
Great. Let's jump in. And we had a kind of a setup call to this last week. We kind of got debriefed. 18 years, you're out there peddling IBM software, and everyone knows IBM, obviously. And now at NCR, you're kind of taking this approach. Let's thumbnail the business real fast. You got 3,000 people in your business, 3,000 software engineers spread around the world.
Yeah, we got about 3,500 people across the world that develop software, customer-facing software across 3 business segments: our banking segment, our retail segment, and our restaurant segment. So think digital banking on your handheld device. Think ATM software, think check processing software, think switching software that helps our banks and our credit card companies do routing. Retail, think point of sale, think self-checkout. That's what you think about first off. And then also think about digital online ordering, pickup in store, delivery, etc. So we got a whole set of online ordering, inventory management, merchandising, loyalty, etc. And then the restaurant space, you would think of us as running the restaurant, point of sale, kitchen software, cloud software that injects orders from online ordering, order aggregators, etc. That's what my team builds for our customers.
Well, that's a lot of products in there when you start thinking about it. I don't know how many SKUs you just rattled off, but that's all cloud-based and all architected in the last couple of years, I gather.
Yeah, I mean, we're on that journey, that transformation, right? I mean, 137-year-old company. We've been building ATMs for decades, right? So the software is evolving, but all that above store cloud, digital banking, order injection, online ordering stuff is all modern cloud native. And it's got to interact with many times 20, 15-year-old code that still runs on hardware devices as well. We're a software and services led company, but you still generally interact with a physical device, more and more becoming digital, but we have to support all channels as to how people want to do business with our customers.
Right. And let's talk about transformation. It is a 137-year-old company. The acronym is National Cash Register. Literally, NCR held the patents on the very first mechanical cash registers. And this guy
and the very first receipt, Mark. We held the patent for the very first receipt.
Oh, wow. And as I understand it, even Thomas Watson worked for NCR before he decided to do a little startup called IBM. So he started at NCR before IBM. And, NCR, it was this classic business that, every cash register at every retail point of sale in America, and then ultimately, around the world, it was the mechanical cash register. But when we talk about transformation in the last few years, and the product lines you started rattling off, you're really this huge move towards new product lines. I want to talk about crypto a little bit today. We can work that in, but you're a cash register company, obviously in an acronym only, but your vision on where you're headed and just public information. Maybe you can spell that out a bit more.
Yeah. So, our transformation, we've been trying to become a software company for a number of years. 3 years ago, when I joined 90 days after a new CEO, Mike Hayford, who really then wanted to amplify that shift to being a software and services led company. We're $6.5 billion, maybe a little bit more in revenue, and roughly half of our revenue comes from hardware. But we also know that that's a necessary necessity for brick and mortar. But how do we shift to be software and services led? So myself, along with several other executive leaders in the team, have come in to really help build that transformation. And my transformation was really simple. At a software level, it was about an API first approach. Like, we absolutely had to get away from monolithic, thick client applications that ran on our devices. We needed cloud software, API first approach. That was kind of principle one when we showed up. We had to build common capabilities. Funny, so we're NCR. You've described kind of how people would think about us. When I arrived here, we had 27 different points of sale just in my retail sector. So take take one of my three business segments, and then I look at, because we've grown through acquisition. So then it's about building common capabilities that we can then share with our customers, right? So make it easier to onboard. And we had to focus on the migrations. And having to go through a transformation, you've got existing customers. Unless you're a new startup that is literally just launching product, you've got to migrate customers with you. So API first approach, building capabilities we could migrate customers to, and then focusing on availability, focusing on quality, ensuring that our 137-year-old brand wasn't eroded by doing something new, but that we still were viewed by our customers as the tried, the true. You don't lose your job if you use NCR. It kind of goes back to what Thomas Watson said at IBM. Like, if you bet your business on IBM in the mainframe, you wouldn't lose your job. And so we still have that mentality here at NCR that we want to be rock solid, innovative. 137-year-olds. We've been innovating, continuously for 137 years. And now, as you said, our latest acquisition of LibertyX in the crypto space is going to help propel us for another 137 years plus.
So let's unpack that. That was a really interesting description there. Firstly, this software first approach. What's the genesis of that? Did you bring that in? As you started coming into the organization and interviewing, did you make that kind of an assertion as your candidacy and educate the leadership team about what that looked like? Did that precede you and you were then brought in to execute against it? But how did that kind of unpack? Yeah. Because, it's kind of been in the lexicon in big business for a good decade now, and few have really gone the hard yards to do it. So how did that lead from a slogan to, core culture?
Yeah. So when Mike came in, when I interviewed with him on his 14th day on the job, he's like, "We have to become a software company. Tell me how you're going to help me do it." He actually gave me a score. I've said this very publicly, that we were in the lower half of a 1 to 10 scale. We were below 5, well below 5 in his view of being mature at a software level. He actually gave me a score of a 2. So he said, "How are you going to get us to a 9? Right? And that's when I laid out kind of the principles, the processes. So API first, common capabilities, community source. So taking the open source model that we have today that I grew up in at IBM, and doing that internally and doing it with customers. Running a guild model. So, I've got 3 business segments. How do I make sure that we're building common UI architectures, common components and capabilities? We're using Kubernetes and Helm chart deployments the same way, so that as I have engineers that might move from product to product to product or change their career, it doesn't look like a new company. As we have companies that want to use restaurant and retail software, it looks like it's the same company coming to market. So I laid out for him my core kind of vision, how I would go implement that. And I was fortunate enough to get the job. I now have the privilege of saying I lead these 3,500 engineers. And then I built my leadership team in the first 12 months to really help me go execute.
That's great. And let's touch on API first. What does that look like?
So everything, so we've kind of gone all in on a dual cloud approach. We use Google GCP and we use Microsoft Azure as our two primary cloud vendors. And we chose Google Apigee as our API management layer. And so we've kind of gone all in, whether our APIs run in our existing data centers, a cloud data center, even run on premise in a store or a restaurant. We surface everything through Swagger documents, open API specs and standards. It's all documented in our marketplace. And we're really trying to make it easy for developers to come interact, use our APIs, extend our APIs, and build solutions. So literally everything that we build has to be managed and interfaced with through open spec documented APIs to make it easy moving forward, and then make that migration I talked about earlier easy moving forward as well.
Now, is that API strategy purely an internal one for efficiency and usability, or is it external that you created a marketplace and third-party developers are now accessing your platform and building additional functionality?
Yeah, it's both. So we've got a marketplace. We've got a developer ecosystem in our digital banking platform that allows people to come in, inspect our APIs. I actually just responded to an email when we were on the video break with someone trying to use our inventory API, just onboarding themselves for their restaurant and how they can use our inventory API to manage inventory across all their stores. So he sent me an email saying, hey, we're onboarding, got some questions, had saw me on LinkedIn or what have you, and got him off to the team. And, he'll be up and running, extending our APIs, using our APIs real time yet today.
Got it. And I was grinning earlier, and I was referencing your 18 years at IBM, but your early heritage for nearly 2 decades was selling these giant suites, and we can do it all. And now you've really architected almost the opposite of that with with this API first strategy. I'd say they're reasonably different. How did you make that? How did you reconcile that in your own mind when for nearly 2 decades you're thinking big suites, and now you're turned around and turned that logic on its head?
Yeah, well, I started to realize when I left IBM, that's where things had to go, because companies aren't looking for, in now our case in NCR Green, an entirely green stack out of the box. Now, I believe we can prove to them that we're better together and use all our components, but we're not the incumbent in many cases. And so we have to be able to interoperate and interact with. Even in my days at IBM, we had co-opetition around Java with Oracle, for example, around open standards with JEE, et cetera. So it wasn't a completely new phenomenon, but yeah, IBM and Oracle and others Microsoft tried to sell you their entire suite, their entire platform, and I'll say quasi get you locked in. So, as we came here to NCR kind of had that mentality prior to me arriving as well. They were like, no, we only sell our stuff together. We make it really hard to integrate with. And when I got onto the job, customers were calling me saying, we can't keep using you because I can't go use this fintech startup. I can't go extend your APIs to build a better mobile or tablet experience, whatever the case might be. And so we quickly realized that customers were demanding this. They've been demanding it prior, but I reheard it. I heard it again. We've implemented it. And now customers really give us credit for, we're creating the ecosystem. And now I have to go compete with the startups in the crypto world and say, no, you don't need to go to another company to get a ATM or a kiosk that sells crypto or put crypto on your point of sale or take payments via crypto. I can do it inside of my software, even if it's 10 years old or you're on a brand new one of our cloud-based deployment models. So it was really on that realization of customer demand was driving us there. And if we go do it right and we make it easy, then they'll keep buying more. As we like to say, happy customers buy more stuff. And so if you make it easy, you make it work, they're going to keep coming back to you and say, well, add on another feature function, add on another feature flag, add on another capability. And that drives our wallet share for the customer.
That's great. Let's talk a little bit about that crypto strategy. So you made this acquisition, LibertyX. For the crypto skeptics watching today, they don't quite understand how it works. It's this unregulated thing. It's not really controlled. There's huge volatility. That's kind of the mindset, obviously, Tim. And again, public information, you know, how NCR is positioning this. What are you trying to do, you know, with your crypto strategy? How does that then, you know, impact products? And, you know, what's your remit in all that, from the software team's perspective?
Yeah. So simply stated, I'm trying to make this a trending hashtag: Bitcoin on every block, right? So hashtag Bitcoin on every block is what me and some of my staff, Frank Hinnick, and the co-founders of LibertyX have started to coin, because we believe it's going to happen. And let me first take a step back. It's not just about Bitcoin, although that gets the most press today. It could be any cryptocurrency, speculative or stablecoin. Many people don't realize USDC, so the US dollar coin, as a stablecoin backed by and regulated by the Fed, is a real thing. You can hold it, you can put it in your wallet, you can use it to pay at places that take cryptocurrency, and it is a regulated, stable currency. So when I take a step back and zoom back, digital wallets and digital receipts and digital currency, I think, is the way of the future, right? And when you start thinking about our businesses, banks, restaurants, and retailers, we didn't want to be a fast follower. We wanted to be a leader when it came to setting the direction and the vision of how this is going to work at all of our touch points, physical and digital. So we went out and made this acquisition to make sure that we could leverage that technology within all of our products, all of our digital offerings, all our physical offerings. And so it will drive change. So as we talked about in the press release today, like with Bitcoin, people want to buy it, hold it, speculate on it, use it as an investment or a store of value, a value store. But down the road, they'll want to pay with it. We're actually also, LibertyX does this today via their subsidiary Liberty Pay, of cross-border remittance. So you start thinking about the MoneyGram and the Western Union model. We're now going to be able to open that up to using Bitcoin or cryptocurrency technologies, digital asset technologies, to make it instantaneous, to make it safer, and to make it more consumer friendly when you're transferring money from, you know, yourself to your grandmother in Mexico or your aunt in Brazil or a friend in Argentina. So that's really the path that we're on, is buy, sell at all of our endpoints, be able to remit cross-border, and then be able to pay at all of our points of sale as we move forward. Those are the three early theses. We have more around lending and other things down the road, but those first three are where we're going to focus at the beginning.
That sounds like a crypto wallet, effectively. That's part of the functionality that you have or will have. It's, again, public information.
That's part of what, so today, LibertyX requires you to bring your own wallet.
Okay.
As we said in the press release, as you think about NCR's digital wallet and applications in the future, we'll be offering that to make it easier for consumers to interact with our platform and to make it just easy to transact. A little known fact that's been published. We all work on technology growth curves, and what's the S curve look like, or what's the jumping the chasm to kind of full adoption. The internet in 1996 took 7.5 years to get from 130 million users to 1 billion. 130 million to 1 billion. 7.5 years for the internet. Current course and speed around cryptocurrency, 4.5 years from the current 150 million users to 1 billion. It's going to be half of the time to get to 1 billion users from a good inception point of cryptocurrency versus the internet. So not every customer of mine is going to use it today. What I tell every CEO, CIO, COO, whoever I'm talking to, I'm like, you may not want it today, but when you want it, you want to make sure I have it. And so that's kind of the leading factor of why we did the acquisition, why we're building out the solutions. Because they're going to come to me in the next 3, 6, 12 months and be like, I got to have it tomorrow because I'm losing business. And we're going to be like, here you go. We'll light it up and we'll turn it on.
Right. And you did make the distinction, and an important distinction between, I think you used the word stable versus speculative crypto. And as long as it's speculative and the anticipation is it's highly appreciating, there's no incentive to spend, right? And so there's no utility. So you've got to cross that, that chasm. You've got to cross over to that land of stable, and then it is a de facto utility. And when the volatility is out, those are the cryptocurrencies that are going to be the most commonly used in digital transactions. Would you agree?
Yeah, I do agree. I mean, I think people will spend it today, even on the Bitcoin. I mean, it was up 200 and some points today. I've got a running tally here as I look at my cryptocurrencies on my wall. So it's over 48,000 today, back under 50,000. So people are spending it today in small regards. But yeah, as it stabilizes out, or as you've made a fair bit of money and you want to use it, part of it is it's the personal preference as well. And so then you'll move money around. You'll move from what you've earned or gained in Bitcoin to stable coin. And the technology, leveraging blockchain or distributed ledger technology underneath the covers, is all fundamentally the same. So I'm not necessarily saying go bet on Bitcoin or Litecoin or Ethereum or Cardano or whatever it is. But as people start to want to use this technology and use that digital asset, we've got to be ready for it. And so that's where, I'd like to think we're ahead of the game. When it comes to a 137-year-old company now going to be lighting up Bitcoin on every block.
Yeah, got it. Makes sense. Hey, I want to shift gears and talk about leadership, culture, talent, people. I know you've got a huge passion for this. You've now said, look, we're a software-led company. We're a software-first company. You're in a pretty hot market. Atlanta is a very competitive market for technical talent. You've got a lot of large employers down there that are also kind of, making waves and moving in that direction. It doesn't go unnoticed that your headquarters is now right next to Georgia Institute of Technology, a wonderful engineering school. Talk to us about how you're thinking about talent, how you're bringing on these, recent GIT graduates, UGA graduates, whatever they are. But how are you bringing those people in, saying, stay in Atlanta, we're a great employer, lots of upside, you don't have to move. What's your employer proposition now that you're a software first company?
So first of all, you're right. I have a passion for this because my 18-year career at IBM started as an intern. I left college after my third semester, took a semester off, and my career went from there. I didn't leave. I worked full-time, went to school full-time, et cetera. So I have a passion for recruiting interns and then converting them into full-time hires moving forward. So you're right. I can look out my back window here and see Georgia Tech's campus across the street. A couple of things that we do. We run a really world-class, phenomenal intern program. So I had over 200 software interns in the US alone, and that doesn't take into account the rest of the world, this summer for 12 weeks. And we don't give them mundane tasks. We give them projects. They have projects, they have mentors, my chief architects, talk to them. We really create this and foster this culture of innovation, and they get to work on some of the leading stuff that we're doing, as well as then learning how we're migrating customers over. So we excite them. We keep in touch with them. I make personal phone calls to many of them that are our top echelon to personally recruit them into this building. And then we talk about the journey that we're on. And for me, my selling point is come to a company that has a technology vision, that's using some of the best technology from Google and Microsoft, but better yet, you're going to put that technology to work to solve consumer problems and to build interactive software that you personally interact with every day. Like if you go into a grocery store, you interact with our software. If you do online ordering, you interact with our software. If you're buying crypto, if you are going to a self-checkout machine, like you're truly working on something that you can explain to your grandmother and your grandmother's going to understand. And then you get to actually work with some of the coolest technology, AI, ML, voice recognition, computer vision, et cetera. So that's our selling point. We've been pretty successful. I've onboarded 1,000 new hires in the 3 years that I've been here globally. And about half of those are here in the US. And
there's this kind of this philosophy where you hire for fit, train for skills. And you mentioned Georgia Tech's literally within eyesight of where you sit right now. How much technical skill do you really look for versus, I'm going to hire aptitude, and then, I know I can make them a productive developer in 6 to 12 months. And a lot of that technology is going to be changing anyway. So is it more about aptitude and you can level up on the technology knowledge, or there's some non-negotiables that they got to have a CS degree, or they got to have an ME degree, or, where do you strike that balance between, hire for fit, hire for culture, and train for skills?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a blend. I mean, we clearly want them to have some skills coming in because they're going to hit the ground running even faster. But we literally are bringing some interns in after their second semester. So after the second semester, they haven't done much, and they have the app. But if they show us they have the aptitude to learn, most importantly, I love to say, if they have the perspiration to match their aspiration, then yes, we can absolutely upskill them. So we look for, as you said, hire for fit and then train for the skill level. We clearly want to see their aptitude, want to see their skill levels. And that's how we differentiate. I make the phone calls to the ones that have the aptitude, have the skill level, that we think are going to be rock stars in our company. And then, we fill in across the board. So we've been successful. We go to hackathons. We sponsor the hackathons at UGA, at Georgia State, at Georgia Tech. If you get into the finals and you win our award, you're automatically getting an internship. I mean, our best word of mouth on campus, we've got a great campus recruiting team, but our best word of mouth is sending people back and saying, my intern was this. And I actually had an intern I talked to yesterday, no, 2 days ago, come to me and say, hey, I met up with my fellow interns that went to Amazon last summer. Mine blew theirs away, right? And that's the best thing that I can say around what we're doing. So anybody that's looking at this and wants to do university hiring, hopefully you're not in Atlanta, here's some of the secret sauce around how you recruit and retain some of that talent.
We have the technology, so anybody watching from Atlanta won't be able to hear this part, Tim. Don't worry. But as I understand it, I mean, using that analogy, you'd pick up, an undergrad in engineering or CS, but they're 1 year into their program, they're between their freshman and sophomore year. You'd pick them up as an intern. You'd literally give them 10 hours a week for the next 3 years and hold them as a captive hire for 3 years. Do I understand that right? You could hold on to them that long and then bring them into the business full time?
That's what we're trying to do. That's what I did at IBM.
Wow.
That's what we're trying to do with them. Now, they don't all stay. They want to go get another experience. Like, I had a young lady who we thought was phenomenal. She then went and did 2 other internships on the West Coast. She's coming back here next summer, right? So she wanted to go explore. She wanted to go see what other companies had to offer, and we'll have her back here. So I try and keep them full-time during the summer, part-time during the school year. We won't keep all of them that way, but as long as we leave a lasting impression on them and we take a personal interest in their career growth, I personally believe we're going to win our fair share.
Wonderful. And testament to you and your team, where, your engineers are saying, they're comparing notes, and you're beating some of the leaders. You mentioned Amazon, but you're beating these leaders, in terms of the experience, the learning that they're getting. So Tim, 30 minutes goes very fast. We're up on time, but and I know you've got some other stuff to jump into. On behalf of CIONET and our 10,000 members around the world, really want to thank you. Extraordinary session, a lot to unpack and listen to. So really appreciate it. We'll be streaming this on all of our socials later today.
Great, Mark. I appreciate the time. Awesome conversation. Right, 30 minutes goes really quick, and thank you.
Tim, thanks so much. We'll be in touch.